Hey, mechatronics students, this is Andrew Dallin, and in this video we're going to be talking about making a stepped edge using the mill. So a couple things I want to point out. We've got a drawing here that shows, let me get it upright, there we go. This shows the drawing of the part we're going to make today, and on the edges, I guess it's not showing up real hot in that camera, so I'm going to switch cameras. On the edges, it has these steps on either side of the part. Those steps are defined to be a 1/4 inch from the bottom and then 0.3 inches from either side. So we have to mill a step on both edges. Now, in order to make that happen, the step needs to be sitting, or the block needs to be sitting up inside of the vise, and I've got some taller parallels in here so that we can make sure we can get all the way down. We never want to run the end mill, the cutter, into the vise. We always make sure that we're clear of that, and if we can't do it, we have to invent better ways to fixture the part up. So in this case, we are ready to go. I've got the block dialed in, it's been locked into position, and we're just going to be taking that first step. And you guys can see from our drawing here, we want to be about a 1/4 inch from the bottom of the part. And in this case, I'm going to do a little bit of math and actually start from the top down and go down a 1/4 inch. This is 1/2 inch thick material. So let's make that happen. One of the first things we're going to do is to set up the zero in the Z height of the mill. And one way that we can do this is to grab a sheet of paper and put it on top. We've got the spindle locked in position, so this is not going to move up and down. We're going to use the knee to raise and lower the part. So when that's the case, we can raise this up, and the sheet of paper is there as we're just kind of moving it back and forth. Once that sheet of paper starts to grab, you know that you're about 2 or 3 thousandths away from the top of the part. Okay? So that's looking really good. So it's just starting to drag a little bit. At this point, we can get in and zero out the dial that's on the knee. All right, should get another camera fired up to show this. And what we want to do is use the knee to show us where we want to be. My other camera's dead, of course. But on the knee of the mill, you've got the handle. It raises and lowers the entire Z-axis up and down. It's located down here. I've got that dial set in at 0 right now. So I'm actually going to raise that up a little bit, and we'll go through and start making some of our first passes. Okay. So with this, what we're going to do is I've got it all dialed in, and we can take, generally speaking, we've got to take all the way across here, and we want to avoid getting close to it till we get our final cut. So we're going to stay clear of everything. I've got lines that are scribed in the part that help us show where things are at, and I'll zoom in so you guys can get a better look at what's happening on this part. Okay. So I've got a 5/8 inch end mill, so we'll get the spindle dialed in, take a look at the formula, and make sure that we've got the right spindle speed for a 5/8 inch in aluminum. All right, so we're looking at about 2,000 RPMs based on aluminum material and a 5/8 inch end mill. So I'm going to go ahead and fire this up, and I'll spin this dial up to 2,000 RPMs. There we go. Like I said, we can eyeball this until we get up to our final cut. So I've got scribed lines over there, and we can kind of eyeball the cutter. Maybe start out a little bit further away, and I'm going to raise this vise up, the knee up, so that we're taking about a 50 thousandths cut, 0.05. So let's see what that looks like. All right, so I can see the line, and I'm going to stay away from that line by just a little bit. And we're going to make a few cuts here. So again, taking about 50 thousandths at a shot. And probably about 1/16 away from that final dimension that I'm looking for. Okay, so we've got one cut done, and we're going to take a few passes, each time taking about 50 thousandths of material off at a time. So that's step number 1. And we'll raise the knee up so that we're taking another 50 thousandths pass. So right now that's 100 thousandths depth-wise. And we'll just keep going. We're going to take another pass. That'll get us 150 thousandths. Again, taking 50 thousandths off in each pass. So end mills are not really designed to take off a lot of material. And rather than push the limits here, we're just going to take some small passes. We can apply a little bit of cutting fluid. In this case, I'm using some WD-40. And we'll raise up another 50 thousandths. This will generate a little bit of smoke as we go across there. All right, so with that, we've taken 150 thousandths. We have to go to 250 thousandths, or a 1/4 inch per our drawing. Okay, so next cut, this is going to be 200 thousandths. And I'm demonstrating conventional milling here instead of climb milling. Okay. So that's 200 thousandths. Now instead of going to the final depth, I'm going to go to 240 thousandths. And just at this point, it might not be a bad idea to use a caliper and check the work. So you grab a caliper and check the depth of cut that we're talking about here. Okay, so I found a caliper, and again, this is supposed to be a 1/4 inch. So I'm going to use the caliper to check. It should be about 200 thousandths based on the dial that we had, and I'm actually very pleased with that. It's exactly almost 200 thousandths, so we're in great shape. The dial is dialed in, so to speak. So like I said, we have it set up now for 40 thousandths, 240 thousandths, which is just about 10 thousandths shy. So this is still what we'd call a rough cut, a rough pass. So let's go ahead and take this next cut. So that should be right at the 250 thousandths mark. Or 240, I'm sorry. We didn't go all the way to the depth. And we're not all the way over for that step yet either. So I'll pause the mill for a moment here. Take a look at our drawing and see what we've got, what we're talking about here. So again, per the drawing here, this step is supposed to be 0.25 for its depth. Now we're actually going at the top surface, but we can check the other one too. And then 0.3 deep. So we've gone down with our end mill in this channel, so we're about at 240 thousandths. And again, I can check that with my caliper, see how we're doing. And yep, it's right at 200, and this one's 240 thousandths. So one more 10 thousandths pass, and that would take care of the depth. The other piece that we need to worry about is this dimension here. We said it was going to be 0.3 as far as the other axes, and it's kind of sitting in here like this. So again, we want about 0.3 on this dimension, and we can use our caliper, check that out against this edge. I stood away from it, so we always stay away from things until you make your final pass. This is about 240 thousandths right now, so I need to go in about 60 thousandths further in my y-axis to get there. So to do that, I think a good way to do it, we could use a digital readout, or I could zero in the dial on the y-axis and manually do it. And that's what I'm going to choose to do. So the y-axis knob has been zeroed out, and we can just feed it in. I think I'm going to start there by moving it in, so it's just about 10 thousandths away from our final cut. So I'll move that y-axis over about, I'm going to go 50 thousandths because it was just a little bit shy of where we wanted it. Get lined up for this pass. All right, so now we're about 10 thousandths away in the y-axis and about 10 thousandths away in the x or z-axis. So that'll be our final pass. And for that one, we're gonna get everything dialed in, take that final pass. Again, I'll shut it off for just a second here and verify it. So in one direction, we should be about 10 thousandths shy of where we want to be. It's actually really close. And then in the other direction, we should be, it's about 20 thousandths shy of where it should be. So anyway, we're going to take our final pass. In this case, we're going to bring it up to 250 thousandths on the z-axis. So we've raised up the bed by that 250, so we're at 250. And then we're just going to take a little bit more on the y-axis and get a nice final cleanup cut across the whole thing here. That'll be our final step. So let's go. And for this, I might actually turn it slower. So we're taking one really nice pass all the way across, getting a good surface finish on that. And you can see we're not taking much material off. All the other passes were called roughing cuts, and this is our final cut. And we're just taking our sweet time, working across there, only taking about 10 thousandths of an inch off in this pass. And we're almost through. There we go. Okay, so that final pass has been done. I'm going to move the camera around a little bit so you guys can see better perspective what we're talking about. All right. So that's looking really nice and clean. Again, we should remove our chips with a brush. And the scribed lines that I used to indicate where things are at, I put a scribed line right where that feature should be, and we are in good shape. Now let's check our dimensions and see if we've hit our targets. So this was supposed to be a 1/4 inch deep. So 0.25, we got about 0.253, 2.254, so it's a little bit more, but not bad. And then this dimension was supposed to be 0.3, and for this measurement, I'm getting about 0.3 or 0.295. So pretty happy with that. I'm within 5 thousandths of the target here. and that should be within the tolerance of what we're shooting for. So that's one step on this side. We'll repeat those actions for our step on the next side, and I'll pause the video while I work through that. Okay, so I actually decided to show this. If you get it and you understand what's happening, you can feel free to fast forward through it. But this is me machining the other step on the opposite side. It has the same dimensions, so we want to be down a 1/4 inch and into the part up to 0.3 inches. And you guys can see the lines that I have scribed in there at 0.3, and I don't have anything on the depth. So in this case, one thing that's interesting is in order to achieve the conventional milling, I'm going to be traveling in this direction. Actually, I'm going to bring the part this way, and you'll see the chips are going to be flying toward the camera in this case. So let's get this fired up, and again, the process is take your rough cuts a little bit bigger, get close to the line, but don't touch the line, and then when you're ready for that final pass, that's when you get everything about 10 thousandths away from where you want it, and take one nice slow pass to get a great surface finish across there. So let's begin. So at this point, I'm just going to drive the mill in and get up to, take that 50 thousandths pass. So I've increased the Z to about 50 thousandths, and I'm just moving over so I can get about to that line, staying a little bit away from it, so I can still see the line as I'm making this cut. All right, so you can see that's conventional milling where the chips are flying out there. And we took a 50 thousandths pass. We'll repeat this step for the next passes. Each time we're going to raise it up 50 thousandths at a shot. There's another 50 thousandths, and we come in and we take those passes. So I'm going to fast forward through that step till I get down to 240 thousandths. Okay, so we're ready to take our last rough cut here. So I'm going to bring that up on the Z-axis using the knee handle to get it to about 240 thousandths, about 10 thousandths shy of where we'd like to be for our final pass. That's our last rough cut. Okay, so at this point, once I get it back, we're going to check with our caliper and see how far off we are from where we'd like to be. Okay, we'll go ahead and shut this off. And we should always wait for the mill to come to a stop before we reach in there. All right, and then we use the brush to sweep away any of our debris. And again, we're aiming for 1/4 inch depth here. So check that. It should be about 40 thousandths shy. So it's a little bit more than that. Might want to check my measurement in a couple spots here. Sometimes you get chips and burrs and stuff that give you different readings. All right, so yeah, I'm about 240 thousandths, actually 235. So about 15 thousandths away from the full 1/4 inch that we're looking for. Boy, my camera work here needs some improvement. Where did it go? There we go. That helps. So again, 235 thousandths, and I'm aiming to get it to a 1/4 inch. So about 15 thousandths where I want to be for the depth. Now for the side, from here to here, I wanted to be at 0.3 for that depth. And right now, this guy is measuring in at about 0.25, so I'm a 1/4 inch, about 50 thousandths away from where I want to be there. So I'm going to move my y-axis in about 40 thousandths of an inch. Actually, I'm going to go, 40 thousandths so I get a final pass. And we'll take one more cut across here and double check our measurements. You can always remove material. It's a lot harder to add material. So if you end up taking a few more passes as you're getting closer and closer to your target, that's just fine. Okay, one more quick check with the caliper. And again, we were shooting for 0.3 for the depth on this. So I'm about 20 thousandths away there. And here we are about 15 thousandths away. So we'll go ahead and make that 20 thousandths adjustment and our 15 thousandths adjustment for that final height. Okay, so this will be our final cutting, our final pass. So we've done all the rough cuts. This will be our final cut. Throw a little bit of cutting fluid across this, and let's make that final pass. The final passes, we're taking a little bit more time as we work across there. Again, it's only taking about 10 thousandths of an inch on both the X and the Y axes. So just a quick final pass, not removing much material, and taking our time to give us a nice surface finish across this entire edge cut. All right. So that should do it for us. We should have both edges cut, and we can double check our measurements and see how everything looks. So I'll get in here with the caliper. We'll check the 0.3 in the y-axis. Oh, and it's actually spot on. Very happy with that. 0.3 in our y-axis. And then the z-axis should have a depth of 0.25. And again, man, that is really nice. We've got it dialed in at 0.25. So that is the process of making a step cut using the mill. All right, and that's a lot of processes, a lot of different things that we're doing, but you saw the parts and pieces there. Number one, it helps to have those lines scribed in there so you can visually see that you're close to where you want to be. You take a lot of rough cut passes that you can visually see you're a little ways away from your final destination. And then after taking about 50 thousandths pass a few times, we get right up to about 10 thousandths away, 0.01 inches away from where our final dimensions should be. Check it with the caliper a lot. And then when you're ready, make those final adjustments, make that finish cut, do it so you're not removing much material. You take your time on that finish pass because that's going to be the final finished surface, and that'll give you a better surface finish on it. So that is a step milling operation where we've taken and made those two steps across there. We'll catch you next time.